Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
Join us as we explore the prize inside, looking at holistic health and extraordinary human potential.
Hi there.
Hi there.
The Prize Inside, a podcast dedicated to holistic living and unlocking your human potential.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to The Prize Inside, the 1% Tribe Edition. Tonight, we're going to have an exciting one. This is where each week, if you don't know, if you're new to us, because I see it's starting to get a pretty good audience out there. Each week, we do a different one. So we do thoughts, toxins, trauma based on the chiropractic principles of what they call innate intelligence. So the innate intelligence within us is perfect no matter what, right? With God given us this amazing gift of perfection. The problem is we get a lot of things that interfere with that perfection over time. And all of those in our chiropractic world are in the thought category, in the toxic category, or in the traumatic category. And so tonight we're going to talk about two of my favorite authors on the planet, Bruce Lipton and Wayne Dyer, and a little Joe Dispenza. I'm gonna bring this. So we've talked about these guys a lot, and at the end, I think I have something pretty fun to share and incredible at the end to just kind of tie it together. Because a lot of us have heard the thoughts become things, whether you like to or not. Some of us have heard that mantra before. And I want to expound on that a little bit tonight as far as this goes. So tonight, I'm so thankful you guys are like holding off on because I'm based in Michigan. I'm guessing, people were watching the Super Bowl, but kind of not watching it because it's like this, it's not our team, man. The Lions fans were the one. If you're going to rig the Super Bowl, at least make it so that it's for Lions fans. We'd be there all the time, man. So I don't know what the Lions have to do to rig that sucker, but whatever it is, let's get on that bandwagon, shall we? So for tonight, Echinacea Tea, I want to give another shout out to Dr. Matt at our office too. We did last night was really cool. It was a church kind of a donation thing, and they did a wild game dinner. So they had, oh my gosh, it was really, really good. My favorite was probably the rabbit casserole, probably right next to the smoked geese. The woodchuck. This is what's crazy. The woodchuck pulled pork type thing that was gone. Like by the time we got up there, and that was a pretty popular one. What else we have? Moose. There is a moose stew. There was, and of course, bear meatballs, and all of it was fantastic, which I figured it would be, but what a fun event to like try different things like that. And especially that natural game, right? So if you can get your brain around it, I was telling Rachel, like, what other natural thing in the planet than venison or a deer, right? Or that is as organic as you possibly can get. And the respect. I'm not a hunter myself. I can't ever say that. I've gone a few times, not great at it at all. Love going out. And one of the reasons I like it is people think you're killing things and, those kind of things. But there's a spiritual connection that a lot of the hunters really do have. And I think that is a neat thing that a lot of people don't understand, like where it's this game, but like, when I was saying like the Indian tribes, when they bless their food or, those kind of things, I think that's part of it. I think that's a really big part of, hunting, especially how delicious that stuff was. So with that said, let's start talking some inner alchemy stuff, shall we? Hopefully you guys enjoyed whichever halftime show. I'm going to tell you this. Mark my words. I'm kind of a future predictor in some respects when I see things from the outside perspective. There's a couple. I'll use Turning Point USA. There's a couple on YouTube Live that did a halftime show, and it was based in like country or whatever you like to do, right? So if you didn't like the one that was on TV today, there was another one, and that one. And I'm more of a country kid, right? So I really like that. And holy mother, that was really, really good. So I'm wondering, there might be a little competition for this halftime show coming up. So, because everybody complains about it, those kind of things. Well, let's do something about it. All these artists came forward, and I was like, oh man, this is a good show. So we'll see what happens in the future. It could be a good competition of like different artist renditions and stuff like that. So with that said, let us start with, it's called the Inner Alchemy, turning thoughts into positive power. And what we're going to do is kind of a fun one. So I hope this makes sense to you. We're going to there's not a lot of slide reading. It's me giving you a quote, and then we're going to discuss it. So for the people that are watching, throw some comments in there as well, because I'd love to go over that. Tonight would be a great night to get you out there. So give me some thumbs up. Remember, before we start, I forgot to say, remember to subscribe to tribe1.substack.com. That's going to be our email newsletter that we're starting to get ramped up on. I got a disease decoder Tuesday, which is kind of cool. It's a really short one. And then it just gives you reminders, to hear. And so it's called tribe1.substack.com. That's this guy, right? Okay. And then just get on Prize Inside, a chiropractor's journey, and it'll bring it up in YouTube, Rumble. And if you're a podcaster, if you like that, Spotify, all of those. I'm so pumped because we've gotten to 5,000. I don't know. I think it's downloads of my show, at least on the podcast angle. But Rumble, I've already surpassed it. It was like 7,000 or 7,500 views. And these views, it was kind of cool because they give you like a dashboard thing. And people are watching the whole thing. It wasn't like they get on and then they're like, oh, that's dumb. So that's really cool. So hopefully the information I always do will keep getting better as that gets better, right? So when we talk about an herbal or we talk about those, I actually had a patient become a subscriber because they were like, hey, you want to talk about milk thistle? And I was like, oh my God, I did a whole hour on that, a month ago. So those are kind of the things that I want you to watch for. Rumble and YouTube, all you're doing is you can see the old shows. I do that with a lot of my YouTube channels and Rumble channels and all those good things. So remember to do that. So, okay, here we go. So and we're going to focus on Wayne Dyer, Bruce Lipton. There's quite a few teachers of this. These are the ones that I know the best, though. So, and Joe Dispenza we do at the end as well. Okay. So what we're going to do is to begin tonight. It's a big focus to understand the power of our thoughts, literally connect our physical ourselves, and how it can be easier, how we can connect that easier. So our thoughts literally connect physically. And it's a really hard transition to understand. But once you start seeing that, you start seeing it. Okay. So if that makes sense. We also get deep into the mind. Okay. So this is the piece that I want to talk about. We're also going to see how the mind control processes that we live in on a daily basis, they really how do we break free from those and start learning how to work with the thoughts that we want to think in a true harmonious fashion? Okay. So tonight's going to be pretty cool, I think. So here's the first Bruce Lipton quote. This is: our beliefs control our bodies, our minds, and thus our lives. Okay. So let me give you a breakdown of Dr. Bruce Lipton. He doesn't probably remember me. I do. So in chiropractic school, one day we were in this class called pathology. I think it was pathology 2. It was more of the intense one where you're learning every disease known to man in the world. So we were even to African little worms that happen. And our teacher happened to be fantastic. He was a kind of a 70s grunge. Well, I would say a 70s rocker. He actually had a band and he played at night at the bars, but he was phenomenally good at being a teacher for this situation. One day, our teacher comes in and says he has a guest and he is going to lecture to us for 2 weeks. That guest happened, and you're talking a class of like maybe 20 to 30. That guest happened to be Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton had just got fired or let go or whatever from, I think it was a Wisconsin medical school. At that time, he was actually working on he was sequencing DNA, our genome. So he was tasked through our government, if you remember this thing called the Human Genome Project. The Human Genome Project was designed to basically map all the human genes in our body. Remember, DNA makes little genes, right? So they're going to map all these genes, and then, we'd have this great database of all these genes that were out there. There was a problem. So as he's doing this, he's decoding and getting, mapping all these genes out, and he was in charge of liver cells. Okay, so human liver cells. As he's doing these liver cells, he's taking all the DNA out of the cells. Okay, so he's taking the DNA out of the cells and mapping them or sequencing them. Okay, so that's part of his job. One of the things that was crazy was he looked over and he saw there's no DNA in these cells. The liver cell was living and it was acting normal. It didn't have any DNA in it. So, I got to comment real quick. Yes. Oh, yes, Julie. Let me finish this before I get you out there. Sorry, I get all off track so easy. So with this, what had occurred was he had taken every strand of DNA, genes, all of it out of the cell, and it was still there, present, living, viable. And so he kept putting liver food, basically whatever the cell needed to, in the petri dish to keep it living, and it kept living. An aha moment came over him that said, our science, if you understand, our science is known to be everything is based on your DNA. They literally call the DNA of your body the key to life. And what he found was that actually that was incorrect. And when he brought that up, that's when he had to find another job, if you know what I mean. When he questioned if DNA was actually the key of life, he was let go or whatever it was. Okay, so I don't know how it all worked. I'm not going to throw that university under the bus, but I know he was without a job. He starts studying even harder. Once he does that, he starts understanding something very profound. That the DNA, the genes of our body, the genetics, okay, so just think genetics. The genetics of our body are nothing different than a program on your computer. And on a program on your computer, you get to choose if it turns on or not, or if you use it, right? The genetics are there. It just depends on something to turn them on and off, okay, to use the program or not. If you think of your body and your genetics as a computer with a bunch of programs on it, once you turn your computer on, there are some that turn on automatically, right? So you have, let's say on this computer, I have antivirus in the background. I can literally go in and turn that off though when it turns on, right? So there's times where you have these automatic programs. We call that's when these programs get to, and I'll get to this in a minute, or there's other ones you literally have to go in and turn it on. So a good example of one that you turn on, the internet. So like when I go online, I have to click the what is it called? The search bar, the search engine, and it brings me up the stuff for the internet, right? So that it's not on all the time. So I have to physically do that. So what he discovered was, what's the thing that's turning on the program? What is it? Because it's not the DNA. The DNA is the program. It is. It's the internet button, your little Google Chrome or whatever you use. What is it? It's your consciousness. Isn't that the most amazing thing I've ever? When he said this stuff, it put me on the floor. I go, oh, holy smokes. It's our spirit. It's our consciousness. What is that? Right? That's why I push all the time. How can we mentally put a headband on and, fly a drone? How is that even possible? Without like sticking needles in your head and getting the electrical from there. We literally can fly a drone with just our mental energy, our mental electric waves, brain waves. What do we do? Sleep in waves, beta waves, theta waves, right? Everything's waves, everything's energy. If that's true, then do we have control? Possibly. Now, here's where the rubber meets the road. Okay. We get born with some programs already built. It's kind of like you're born as a computer. Okay. So let's say you're a computer and we just went to Best Buy. Me and Julie went to Best Buy and we bought a computer. On that computer, we're going to have some programs to get to where we want to go. Because a lot of us, we don't build those things from scratch. Okay. So God, the innate intelligence within us, has built in some of these programs to run proteins, to be able to run your body, all of those kind of things. The next step is that your parents have to also show you how to run the programs. It's not the first time you just jump onto the computer, take a baby and stick them on the computer, and they figure out how to work the internet, right? Somebody has to show them how those programs work, okay? So that is where the science of, and now it's an actual freaking science, which is the coolest thing ever. And it's really hard to watch because it's the science no one wants to talk about in science. Epigenetics. So epigenetics is literally the science of changing your genes, okay? Or changing the program that you're running, okay? So think that way. It has been around now since Bruce did. I'm 26 years in practice this year. Okay. I met Bruce 27, 28 years ago, and they still are fighting that. Why? Why do you think science has a hard time with that actual thing? This is when my brain just blew up and woke up. It's because it shows you that your health, if we get good at it, which we are not, right? We're not good at it. If we can understand that our thoughts can control all of us, our physical matter, our physical environment that surrounds us. Once we get to that point, the stuff that Jesus was actually saying to us, we can get there, right? But it takes a lot of work, right? There's a lot of subconscious programs. Subconscious programs are so embedded. It's like going deep in there. So think of that program that you've used. Let's say I wanted to use Microsoft Word, okay? And I've been typing 3,000 books a week. Or no, let's say I'm doing a chapter a week for the last 26 years, and I've been using Microsoft Word to do it, okay? Is that going to be easy to transition to a different program? No. That's the problem. That's the problem, is not understanding that. And with those subconscious programs, they run 95% of the time. And so because of that, we have to do the work. We have to start looking at that. And tonight, I'm hoping I'm going to help us kind of discern, because it helped me so much when I learned this, that there's a method to the chaos that's happening currently. I think in my head, it might be time to understand it's so chaotic out there. I think God's trying to tell us something. The universal intelligence without us is saying, maybe we got to take a different perspective. So remember that thoughts literally control your physical self. If those thoughts control your physical self, then let's change those thoughts. Let's start looking at doing that, and we can go to a massive new level. Okay. So I'm sorry, I get all soapboxy on you. Sorry, guys. So Julie's back. She's probably all warm down there. Hi, Jeremy. This is Julie. We need some positive information. I like the Tuesday emails. Good. So the Tuesday emails are pretty quick. And so I like them. And a lot of them are going to be like patient related. Like I'll have these stories that I'll think of, throughout the week. Man, I cannot wait to tell you guys about my frozen shoulder lady. That was crazy. Fell on the ice hard. We thought it was a combination of frozen shoulder and the inflammation in her shoulder. And we did a few things somehow by conscious forces, right? Innate intelligence, the universe. She runs into her old medical doctor and says, go to Jeremy real quick. He fixed mine a long time ago. And then the first, she hadn't been in years. And in 3 visits, it was pretty remarkable. So anyway, that'll be a good story for another time. So that was Bruce Lipton's quote. I wanted to give you some background though. So think in your head, programs on a computer. That's what we're talking about. Like when we're talking thoughts. Okay. And then this is the part that the Wayne Dyer also, we talk about it, but how do you get there? How do you get there? Right. Okay. Here's another Bruce Lipton quote from his book, Biology of Belief. Positive thoughts are a biological mandate for a happy, healthy life. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So a lot of times your thoughts are what is the driving force for many things that, the life you want to live. And so that is a big, big deal. All right, here's another one. Biological behavior, and this is from Bruce Lipton as well. So biological behavior can be controlled by invisible forces, including thought, as well as it can be controlled by physical molecules like penicillin, a fact that provides scientific underpinning for pharmaceutical-free energy medicine. Beliefs and thoughts alter cells in your body. Okay. So what he's saying is that biological processes, chemicals, can do the exact same thing, right? It's just a chemical that they're using to alter these chemical reactions. Energy. So think of energy. Like, don't use thoughts for a minute. Use electrical energy, like getting shocked or, something like that. Energy to the body can also change physiological and chemical processes. That's why the nervous system's so important. That's why your hormonal system's so important. But what controls a lot of those? Thought processes. Thoughts, we have to start believing that they're not just these things we have. Thoughts are actually the communication between the human body and the external environment too, right? So as we're watching and observing the external environment, our thoughts are being generated. Those thoughts are being generated and creating chemical signals, creating electrical signals, creating radio frequencies, right? So we have all of those frequencies hitting our body in all these different aspects. And so all of those things are happening with thought, right? In a chiropractic term, my job is to make sure that, all of those things, the thoughts, toxins, trauma, we check that spinal, all your spine. And so making sure your nervous system is free to work as it should, right? Making sure the joints are good. Basically, I'm trying to recalibrate the machine, making sure there's nothing, in the way. Your thoughts can be a very big help in some ways. Think about how good and what happens to your body if you go on nature walks. Think about that. How good do you feel? When Rachel and I went hiking for her 50th birthday at Hocking Hills, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. The feeling you have, the immune system's working, just all of it's working. Do you sleep well? Yep. Do you hurt? Not as much as you'd think, right? So it's a very cool process to watch these different thoughts. Why was that so good? Because the entire idea behind the nature walk was to enjoy what was surrounding you, right? There wasn't all these things getting in your way. Okay. Why does it hurt so bad when people have negative stuff on, like, let's say social media or those things? Why do we feel like we hurt worse? In fact, here's an experiment. Next time you get on and you get angry about something, tonight is the Super Bowl. There's a lot of weird crap that happens. Like, people get mad about this or that, right? In both sides, right? And if you step away, you go, okay, how do I feel? And tomorrow, if everybody gets mad at, let's say the halftime show or whatever, right? When they get angry about that, I believe I'm going to see some low back pain because they watched the Super Bowl and it pissed them off, right? That's a thing, right? Because that's how powerful your thoughts are. So there is that. So remember that beliefs and thoughts alter cells in your body. These are simple ones, but super important. Okay. All right. The secret of life is belief. The secret of life is belief. Jesus said this the best. He absolutely did. He said, you can do all this stuff. Look at the stuff I can do. Isn't that amazing? I can do all this stuff. It's a shame you don't believe hard enough. Or one of my favorite stories is the prostitute. The prostitute in the Bible, she's like totally believing. She is like all in. And the dude that was rich was like, kind of. And so she gets blessed with all kinds of stuff. And he's like, what is going on, man? And he's like, well, she believes so much better. Her belief is her currency, right? That belief is more powerful than a currency ever would be, right? Okay. So the secret of life is belief. Rather than genes, it is our beliefs that control our lives. Rather than genes, our beliefs control our lives. The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body. So this is where the scariest moment, I believe, in history we are currently in this place. When they start to mind control program to make sure that the next thing you're going to see is a bunch of AI, computer stuff, all these things saying, well, I read your genetics. And based on your genetics, what we're going to do is give you this, this, and this. What does this say? The secret of life is belief. Rather than genes, it is our beliefs that control our lives. Genes do not control our lives. The idea that you might have this gene causes a thought. That thought could turn on that gene. And there you go. Problem created, right? And so that's the biggest scary thing. And one of the reasons I'm so adamant about this is because I see it now. I saw it 20 years ago when they first started. An actress, I don't know what her name is, got the genetic test that she had the genetic marker for breast cancer. This is like 15 years ago. I can't even remember her name. Her mom had died of breast cancer. So what she did was, because she had the genetic test for it, never had actual breast cancer, she got her chest removed and put the fake stuff in, right? That made my skin, my steam out of my ears started going crazy. The reason why is because that's not your path. Your beliefs are your path. The genetics, just because you get a genetic thing that says you have this condition, does not mean you're going to have that condition. It never has. The amount of people that go get this rheumatoid factor in their blood and don't have rheumatoid arthritis, I'm guessing it's like 60% of the time. If you get tested for that, a lot of times none of you have it, right? Or this rheumatoid thing. It's a lifestyle thing. The rheumatoid is so much different than just this one little factor in your blood. But once they got it in your brain, maybe that rheumatic that factor turns on, and now you actually have it. Your thought created the reality, and that is what my 1% tribe is all about, is understanding that the thoughts can create your reality, whether you like it or not. And that's what is big tonight. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about Wayne Dyer. So Bruce Lipton's my number one guy because I actually got to meet him. So that was pretty cool. And I have his original notes on fractal biology, which blows your mind. Rachel always asks like why I'm constantly doing stuff, like I have a lot of activities I do. Well, part of it, I believe, is thanks to understanding this, that I've created those programs to kind of run at a different pace than most people. So I think that's part of it. But anyway, so here is Wayne Dyer. So let's look at Wayne Dyer. So so this is one of his best books that I loved. When you're connected to the power of intention, everywhere you go, everyone you meet is affected by you and the energy you radiate. As you become the power of intention, you'll see your dreams being fulfilled almost magically, and you'll see yourself creating huge ripples in the energy fields of others by your presence and nothing more. So this is when we start to, and we're going to talk about this, we're going to start living intentionally to these new programs. And it's really, really difficult. Okay. So, but it will change who you are at all moments time. If you intentionally, and that's what I loved. If you ever want a good book that was fantastic, is The Power of Intention. It wasn't even one of his bestsellers, but it was by far one of my favorite books I've ever read. So once you understand the word intention, and if you understood the thought process, when we intend and make our thoughts better, when we start improving those, not only are our thoughts going to get better, the energy around us gets better, lifts up the people around us to even get better that way. I get spoiled sometimes. I have a young kid that comes in. God, I've seen her since she was like 10 years old. And she starts laughing at me because now she's a college kid. And she's like, I start laughing every time I see you. You haven't changed in like the last 10 years. I go, I know. She goes, I just feel better just giving it to get adjusted. I go, that's my intention. So if I come in the room all doom and gloom and sad, the only bad thing is like I talk too much. That is for sure. That's for my office staff. But if I could just come in and have that conversation, knowing that my thoughts are affecting you, are affecting the whole thing, right? And so if I can get my patients to uptick their emotional thought process one iota, they not just help themselves, right? It's exponential. They get to help their family because they feel better, right? And then their family's happier. And then that brings that whole thing. It's a full circle. That's why I love this quote. So I'm going to read it one more time just to make sure you hear it. So now think of it in thought terms, okay? So you're intending great thoughts. When you're connected to the power of intention, so the intention of understanding amazing thought processes, everywhere you go, everyone you meet is affected by you and the energy you radiate. 5 feet from you, just to let you know that, at least, right? As you become the power of intention, when you become it, when it becomes routine, okay, then these dreams start becoming magically fulfilled. And you'll see yourself creating huge ripples in these energy fields of others by your presence and nothing more. And all of us have been there. All of us have been in that process, right? We've been to the concert that person's so intentionally ready to give you the best concert of their lives that all of us feel that, right? That's why those big concert moments can be an amazing experience, but it can also be an amazing experience the other way, right? They can be negative. So you just got to be careful what your situation is. You get what you what you intend to create by being in harmony with the power of intention, which is responsible for all creation. So creating intention. Every day I'm intent on making my thoughts better every single day. What makes me get there? Great music, anything you need. Use those tools of the power of intention to get you there, so that not only are you going to benefit from all that, the people around you will too. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. I love these quotes. So, and I can't wait to throw the little bombshell at the end that I have. All right. So here's Wayne Dyer continued. By the way, I did a little echinacea tonight. I was figuring I love me some echinacea sometimes. So, okay. So you get what you intend to create by being in harmony with the power of that intention, right? The power of intention, which is responsible for all of creation. The face of creativity intends you. Okay, let me do this again. The face of creativity intends you toward continued creativity to create and co-create anything that you direct your power of intention toward. Okay. So this is one trick that I wanted to talk to you guys about. One of the ways to change your thoughts is to do. Okay. So if you intend to do, you want to create. Too many times right now in our human existence, we don't create, we are told. Okay. So like tonight, one of the biggest things in the world is the Super Bowl. What is it doing? You're not creating anything. You're sitting watching somebody entertain you. It's the other way around. Think of, the Romans when they were a little nervous about the people, right? Starting to go, hey, I think you're taxing us too much or whatever. They would have games. They didn't want you creating, right? And that's going to come into focus in just a little bit here, but creation, making, doing all these things opens your world to moving those thought processes quicker or faster. So when you're trying to be a master, I'll use myself. You're trying to be a master chiropractor, right? So I'm trying to do the best I can with each adjustment, make sure it's perfect, all those things. So it's kind of one of these cool professions that you get to try to constantly improve. Now, that is my brain space. That's not every chiropractor's brain space. Okay. So here's a good example. Let's say you're a welder. I've met welders that could do it for decades and years. In fact, they have welding hobbies after work. Why would you do the same hobby? Because it's an art to them. They want the perfect weld, right? They want to make the perfect weld art piece afterwards. One of the reasons I love watching the American Picker show is because a lot of times he'll go into these big places with all kinds of stuff everywhere. And one of the things that's neat, though, is watching how young some of these old guys look that have welded the craziest artistry, right? And the reason that happens is because they're able to create different thought processes. So Lexi and I, here's another book for you, because I'm so pumped. Lexi, over Christmas, she decided, we have a ton of books, like all over the place. Would my kids ever read a book that I read? I don't know. I got a few books that I'd tell you guys about. We should have a book night at some point. But one was called The War of Art, right? And we've actually done a show on The War of Art by David Pressman. She picked it up, and it's a very simple book, and she started reading it, and she goes, "Dad, I'm going to write my book." I'm like, "Exactly." She goes, "Yeah, it's that's the creation." That I go, "Yes, that's the intention. That's who you can be. You can actually change your thoughts to those processes." She's like, so she looks right at me. This is so fun. She's like, "So what are you doing? What are you doing?" She knows. So last birthday I had, we went to the wood carving store, and I want to get into wood carving, but the weather kind of sucks. And then we were super busy last year, so I never pulled it out. So she's like, "When are you going to pull out your wood carving stuff?" Her dad. I go, "Well, I'm going to this summer for sure, but I got to tell you what I'm making." So I'm making, you guys will like this too. I'm making my first board game. Well, it's a card game. It's a card game. And if you guys don't know, I invent stuff. So that is my side hustle, constantly trying to do inventions. So it's either prototyping in that creation, creating the sales piece if it's any good, but really the prototyping is where it's at. So right now I have a mailbox that I'm working on as the sailing part. We'll see how it goes. But the neat thing for me is I don't care, right? In the sense of if it takes off, it's going to be this glorious thing. If it does not, it doesn't stop me. But it allows, I'm so into that flow that it's really helped me in all aspects of my life, because now I'm very consistent with working, right? I have times of rest, times of work, but when I'm working, right? And so part of that is, if I want to invent something and be a full-time doctor, I'm going to have to find a place where I can do the communications with other companies and all those things. And I found those, right? And so that is kind of the power of intention. When you start to create whatever it is, create that next, my brother Ryan that we've talked about, the Whiskey Rhino wheelbarrow or wheelbarrows, whiskey barrels, all the really good artwork he's doing. One of the neatest things is watching him create and seeing that whole world. It just changes you. It just does. Like he goes, you don't have time to go drinking. You don't have time to go sit and watch this. He was burning 4 or 10 barrels, as the Super Bowl is going on, right? That's the beauty of what they mean by power of intention, creation. Get into creating things, helps with advancing that intention even more. And Wayne Dyer, if you want to get a book, it's called The Power of Intention. Ridiculous. Okay. Here's some more. So the more you see yourself as what you'd like to become and act as if what you want is already there, the more you'll activate those dormant forces that will collaborate to transform your dream into your reality. That is absolutely a truth. You can change all of it, but you have to see it, but you have to imagine it, even if you need to. The more you see yourself as what you'd like to become and act as if what you want is already there, the more you'll activate those dormant forces, right? The forces, the consciousness, the energies that will collaborate to transform your dream into reality. A mind at peace, a mind centered and not focused on harming others, is stronger than any physical force in the universe. That is absolutely the case. A mind at peace, a mind centered, and not focused on harming others is stronger than any physical force in the universe. Isn't that interesting? How everything in our social sphere is geared to stopping that. It's absolutely geared to stopping that. There must be a little power there. Because a lot of us, if somebody disagrees with what we say, or they're on this side or that side, or they hate this guy, they don't like this guy, right? We've really done a good job in really losing it, right? In those things, when we have to give those things up to God, the unlimited source, right? And so a lot of times, but it throws you off your game in intending where you want to go. And that's a big thing that we're going to talk about in a minute. Okay. And here's some nuggets from Joe Dispenza. Now, Joe Dispenza is kind of a newer one, very mainstreamy right now. He does some really cool things with, meditation weeks, all these things. He's seeing physical. When you change your thoughts, you physically can change disease processes. And he's got proof of that. So you see those things, and it's really some teachings from, I think he's basically learned his teachings from the old masters, the Wayne Dyers and beyond. One day we'll go into Lao Tzu, which is way beyond. So all of these teachings have been there. It's just, how do you bring them about? We've known this for thousands of years, right? Why is it new news now? Is kind of crazy, especially epigenetics. I think they've known that for like a bunch of thousands of years. But so here are some nuggets from Joe Dispenza. If you want a new outcome, you will have to break the habit of being yourself. If you need a new outcome, you'll have to break the habit of being yourself and reinvent a new self. That's huge. That's huge. To change is to think greater than how we feel. To change is to think greater than how we feel. So we have to go beyond that emotion, right? And I'll tell you why this is important. I'll read the rest of the quote first. To change is to think greater than how we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. One of the major problems that we have is we have people that get diagnosed with some kind of mental condition. Let's use depression, for example. In our depression, one of the problems is that we bring it up over and over and over in these depression counseling cycles. A lot of it feels better because you're working with somebody and actually taking that, I would say, emotional scale from like depressed to maybe something a little better than that. What this is saying is that you need to break free of saying, I'm in a depression, but I want to feel this way. What if you broke free and said, I'm just happy? Could you do that? Could you break free of that mindset, that thought process, and move that step forward to get out of that thing? You have to be greater than the emotion allows you. Okay. The only way I've seen this done, this is why I push it so hard, is imagination and visualization through our buddy, Mike Dooley, right? So Mike Dooley teaches that visualization stuff and the power to know that our kids knew much more than we did when they were imagining, they were playing all the time. Wanted to be an airplane pilot, they were flying an airplane. If you want to be an airplane pilot, you're putting it together. I remember those days. I had the Blackbird SR-71 painted perfect. It was so fun. I was in, man. I was in, right? And nothing was going to stop me from creating that SR-71 Blackbird as a model. Oh, it was the best thing ever. But when you think of those thought process, all of us have had it. Julie could probably throw me a bunch. I made this thing when I was a kid. It was the craziest feeling. But that's the feeling we're going for. If we want our thoughts to become those intentions, we have to start getting to those where every day Every Monday is a day of new creation. Every Monday is a new great day of intention. Why does it drive me nuts when everybody sighs when they come into work on the first day? Or, I'm glad it's Friday. It should be nothing different. Every day is freaking fantastic, but you got to get there, right? It sounds easy when I'm saying it because I've studied these people for a long time. And partly it is hard to teach it because of that, because I've known this for a really long time. And so it gets kind of interesting that way. But okay. All right. So here's another one. To change is to think greater than your environment. Think about that one. To change is to think greater than your environment, right? If you're having a tough time in a relationship, think greater than that. What would happen? And this is something that's fascinating. What would happen if you thought greater? So you didn't allow the relationship environment. Let's say there's a relationship that's crap. Okay. So it's not going well. It's negative all the time, whatever. Okay. So all of a sudden you have this relationship that's garbage all the time. Let's say they're fighting, whatever. All of a sudden you say, I'm not going to change the person. There's no chance you're going to be able to change that person. That's up to them. Right. So what I'm going to do is change me and have the best intentions possible and be the happiest and understand that all of this good intention, when I change my thought process to whatever it is that I hold on to make myself feel that way, I'm going to make myself healthier. And when I do that, by off chance, you're going to make the people around you do what? Be healthier as well, without even taking on the solution, right, to whatever it is. And then the universe actually works some of this stuff out, which I've seen over and over and over. But one of the hardest parts, and I hate to use a relationship situation because that one's a tough one. When you do this work, you can notice the actual relationship you're in change dramatically. And you didn't do any of this work. Let's work it out 30 different ways till Sunday, right? Let's fix you to help me. And now I got to fix me to help you, blah, 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 right? What if we just fixed our thought process? What if we fixed our positivity? What if we fixed our intention to be the best we possibly can, regardless of what's going on around us, right? And I know when I talk about this relationship, some of it is deep. Some of it's very deep. What if all you knew every morning that you were going to take care of this plant and it was going to give you the best intentionally good feeling thought of the plant before you go to work. And so you do that. And then you go to work and you're like, man, I do like my job. I love my job. I'm going to enjoy, being at work. Okay, I'm going to get in my car. My relationship kind of sucks at home. I'm going to go check it. The first thing I'm going to do is go check that plant. I'm not going to confront everybody. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make me better. Doesn't make my emotions change, right? I'm just going to do me and just be as happy as I can in the communication patterns. And I promise you that you will see something happen. The change will occur where energetics start to change the people around you. I can't say, if I'm a musician and I come in and I know I want to play the best band concert I possibly can. I want to do it for the art. I want to do it for the creation. I want to do it for the other people. So I play this tune. Once you're done with playing this beautiful art, are you really going to be, attached to what everyone thinks? Maybe you are, and that's the thing. But the true artist, did you ever know that Prince got booed and thrown shit at his first time on stage because no one understood his kind of music? He literally got hit in the head with a piece of wood or something, almost knocked him out. First time he did it because they booed him so hard. But he loved what he did and the power of intention. It doesn't matter on the other people. It matters how intentional you are, right? Intentional and where he ended up going. So that's the coolest part. And then he has people falling all over him on a stage, which that energy changed. The only way, okay, so this is the last one. The only way we can change our lives is to change our energy, to change how we think and change how we feel. The only way we can change our lives is to change our energy, to change how we think and change how we feel. I would say not only in the thought process, right? So not only in the thought process, but you're going to change how the way you eat. You're going to change how you physically move. All of those things will start to change as well as the thought process. Once we get into that world, life changes in dramatic ways. And someday, maybe when I do my actual talk, Julie will probably get on our anti-inflammatory one. When the snow goes down, we are doing it this year. It is a guaranteed, probably end of March, April. We're going to do our anti-inflammatory talk. Hopefully my people online, now that I got a pretty good following, will try to figure out a way to either have I don't know if I can do it live. I'm not sure if I'm technical enough for that, but maybe I'll have like a replay of the show. I'll record it or something, but yeah, so those are some things to think about. Okay. All right. Here is what I want you to think about for tonight. Okay. So what I've learned in these powers of thoughts, so what I've learned is that the power of thoughts is so powerful that the wizards of our world, the systems of control that are currently within this reality, understand this so much more fundamentally than we do as humans understand, because we forgot. That's all that is. Those same people have figured out how to craft a framework in which all around us, we are constantly in a bubble in which they place a framework around our thoughts to profit and get away with whatever they're doing. Sickness, you have this. You must have this new shiny object. You have to look like this. You must buy this new thing. Give me money because of whatever, saving whatever elephant monkey that is out there. But I really believe one of the reasons we're feeling this chaos in this world is because the wizards that are out there currently, that were once able to do this with complete control, let's say three channels, are losing control. They're literally losing control of all the stuff they used to know as their little magic spells. And once we start figuring it out, we'll have a chance to really start changing our belief systems. Okay. So I think that's it. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about this. I believe we live in an unintentional matrix. Everybody says matrix, but I think it's an unintentional physical. Well, it's an intentional matrix by bad guys. Okay. So I think people had figured out a long time ago that this thought process is if they can control your thoughts, they control all. Okay. So all they got to do is control the thought process. So if they can keep you at a level where, there's no way you can fix yourself. You have to have this to feel well in a sickness. There's no way you can, hit this big, sweet business because you'd have to, know this person. Right. So there's a ton of these little, and if you put it all together, it's all these little different matrices. Well, the problem is as technology grows, and that's one reason I think partly that they want us all. There's two parts. One of it is they want a lot of people to fear the crap out of that AI stuff, where I think it's going to be like the internet in some respects. And I really believe it's going to give some people, like YouTube did for musicians, power that they don't have these little wizards holding out and controlling the situation. And I think as we go in the next bunch of years, I think our monetary system has that kind of situation going on currently. All of it. I think all of it is breaking in real time. What's breaking is the little cages that were around us, the ways they could surround us, and they're constantly trying to put little cages still around you. And right now, they're using AI against us in saying, "Oh, let's say you have a negative, you're looking up something. I'll use bikes. I want to buy a bicycle. You look at one bicycle, and then Facebook shows you 47 bicycles. How did it know to do that?" Right? So it's already got these algorithm cages around us. It's not about fighting off the cage. That's the other part they want. So they want you to fight the cage to give you something else to put you in a cage. Okay. What it is just don't accept the cage. Step back from all of it. Still do you. Still work on your thoughts of intention. Always. And that's the key. Utilize the tools you need to, but step away when you're starting to feel someone's doing that to you. Okay. So and this probably takes a little more discussion, but one of the problems with this thought thing, your thoughts become things, just change your thoughts and it'll be good. You're blasted every 2 seconds with a new news article, ad, all of these things on purpose to make sure that your thoughts and your power of intention never get there. That's been the way. And it's hard for me to explain it. And I'm not a serious enough guy to be the guy that you're like, "Oh, Jeremy's right. I should absolutely do that." I'm telling you, it's real. Jesus broke all of the rules. He's my favorite teacher in this. If you go look at this, he healed people from just looking at him. Okay. His energy field, people were getting better at. What? That should blow people's minds. It's just that story alone and the multiple times it has happened. And it was energy. It was energetics that did it. Right. And it's just because of what? He understood that the belief system within, the belief system is what drives everything, right? And guess who else knows that? All the bad guys that run all the wizardry, from the social media to the television to the sports to the political to whatever you want to show. It's wizardry to control where your attention goes, right? I want us to work on intention and stop giving up our attention. All right. So I hope this was good enough to have you guys miss the Super Bowl for me. I appreciate it. So what are we going to do? Let's free ourselves from this toxic cloak, right? Quit giving our attention and start working on our intention. Okay. So once we break free of this environmental cloak, things to begin to drastically change. With the teachings of these great minds, this one major piece of the pie. Before these thought patterns can become a reality, you must first see the environmental constraints around you. So we have to see and recognize that these are happening. Once you do, the thoughts are easier and easier to understand. Time changes, healing changes, happiness changes. So that was my little thought, my little Twinkie dink on top of everything. Once you free yourself, you break free from that actual matrix, you can actually see it in real time in different ways, right? And once that freedom becomes yours, it changes everything, right? No matter what. It's not about others. It's about you. It always has been. Right. But if you can break free from that, the matrix all around us, there are so many things. I'm not going to lie about this. There are so many things I could get pissed off about every day. And it gets on my news feed or whatever by design. So I will make a note and I will find how can I intentionally do what I want to do and help this world for a better. Because if my intention, if my energy is at that point, all of the people around me get to have that as well. And here's the best part. If the people that I hang out with have that great intention, I get that too. So it's kind of selfish. So anyway, I love you all. Thanks for putting up with me. Now I'm going to go watch the rest of the Super Bowl. I think it's good. It's one of my favorite kinds of Super Bowls though. So the defensive struggles are my favorite. So with that said, have a great week. Start tomorrow with a great intention. Your new intention is to love that entire day. No matter what it is, you're going to enjoy something. Find it. Okay. All right. With that said, you guys have a great night.